Alright, possibly the most important patch to date for the finals just dropped. We have a ton of eyes on this one as players look towards what Season 4 is offering for the future. And it starts off with us taking some changes with World Tour, introducing the new Primetime Buff event. What is Primetime Buff, I hear you ask? Well, once you or a teammate inserts a cash box into a cash out station on World Tour, your whole team gets a massive plus 100 HP buff globally. Now obviously that does sound pretty insane because that's right, you can have, let's say, a 250 HP sword light boy running around the arena. So obviously, you have to be a bit more cautious about what is being changed in the game. So they have added some form of leveling to this buff. First of all, if you do take damage, that extra health does not replenish. Once the cash out is finished, the buff will disappear. The buff cannot be stacked, but it can be replenished if your team deposits another cash box. And finally, the buff does not apply to teammates that are eliminated when the cash box is actually inserted. Now, I've seen some people instantly think that this is like the most silly thing that can obviously be added into the game, but also some people do seem pretty excited with these changes, and I kind of wanted to remind you that as a viewer or obviously a player, that this mode is obviously intended to be a more so casual experience with twists and turns throughout the season to actually have the gameplay mixed up in some cases wild ways. So I guess sort of like World Tour can have a little bit of like a playground type style mode as well. I think people have kind of gone over to World Tour because they've either hit their own personal peak in ranked already, and they're kind of treating World Tour like it was last season, where it was a replacement to ranked tournaments because obviously of terminal attack, right? But I think that mixing up the game, kind of wildly with these kind of mess around events is actually positive for the game, and then, kind of complaining about it when you haven't really even tried it yet, it's just kind of limit the creativity of the game's future, and then it'll kind of be like stale down the line, right? And then people will be like, oh, well, why is the finals become like other titles? Obviously, don't get me wrong, when something is annoying to play in, right, then, obviously not every event that Embark will make will slap, but just understand that World Tour isn't ranked and allow them to have these kind of mess around different mix-ups for the mode as well. Moving on, you're probably wondering what's happening with the ranked rewards that you may have gotten in Season 3. Obviously, congratulations if you did reach the top 500. We have actually been given an update about the status as well. The developers say, we said we'd deliver the post-Season 3 rewards with update 4.2, which is this update right now, and they do say that they still intend to do that. However, given how important it is that this is handled correctly, we still want to do further testing before handing them out as well. So it will still potentially be coming during this week because this is the 4.2 update. So we may get it, let's say, for example, in a couple of days from now. We don't know, but hopefully you should get those rewards very shortly. We also get a new community event with 10 million eliminations combined. We can acquire the brand new Engimo .50 Akimbo Deagles as well. Of course, enough yapping, it's time for the reason why you're here. The biggest star of the show, and it's going to be my reactions to the balance changes this week. And we have got a lot to break down here as well. So, first of all, the gadgets. Well, the Data Reshaper has actually been given the glitch barrels to add to the rotation of the reshaped items that it can create. So I kind of guess that it's like once again replaced that real need for Light's uniqueness having the glitch grenade as well. So I guess rip Light in that department. Next up, the smoke grenade has been given an even further increased buff with the duration extended from 15 seconds to 17.5 seconds as well. And this is actually a gadget that has been given a lot of popularity lately since they had adjusted the enemy health bars and outlines not showing through the smoke a while back as well. So what I'm actually going to be doing is testing out adding it to my Light build on stream, which if you don't know, I'm live right now on Twitch and YouTube. So obviously if you want to talk to me about these patch notes or questions, come hang out, and obviously we can discuss the patch this update as well. Moving on, we've also been given some adjustment to ranked tournaments and the spawn logic as well. Same for World Tour. But if you don't know, obviously I've had the honor to be talking to some top players about the state of the finals and its future for esports this week. And even though the conversations that I've been having are out of the scope of this video, one of the big repeated frustrations is obviously the spawn logic kind of allowing things like third parties to happen, for example. So first of all, for the final round, they've actually updated the logic in the final round tournament, meaning there should be less downtime on wipes, which is actually irreplaceably better for spectators as well. But they've also increased the variety of cash out spawn locations when spawning the next objectives. And again, I kind of hope that this does soften the blow on the amount of third partying that's happening, which Embark obviously did say in a statement previously that it's been working very effectively with the very first vault spawns. But obviously, as you go towards the 10k cash out or the ones further on from that, if a vault is delayed or someone staggers a vault, then obviously that's when it can arrive at those further third-party issues as well. Obviously, third-partying is a strategy in itself for the finals, but we kind of want to reduce the amount of times that it's happening, so we'll see if this new logic or variety of cash-out spawn locations does change up how it's going to be played in the arena. For specializations, the mesh shield has been given some love back into it as well, which is obviously poorly received from the community at the Season 4 release, and rightly so after being super harsh changes to the specialization. So the mesh shield now has a decreased cooldown from 12 seconds to 8 seconds if the shield is damaged when closed, and then 8 seconds to 4 seconds if the shield is undamaged when closed. And I actually think that this is now in a pretty fair, good spot for now, as Embark obviously did mention that they want to avoid a sort of spamming, or they said in the notes, juggling, as they say, during combat. And I think that this is a better compromise than what it was before this buff actually happened, so I think this is a good spot for it. We now move back onto our beautiful weapon nerfs, and we're going to see a ton of flames across the Discords and Reddits, of course, about these weapon changes this week. But of course, it's the CL-40 at the forefront of the action, getting its rebalance back in line. Firstly, the damage has been sent back down to 100 from its previous 117. The ammo has actually increased from 4 to 5 shells, and the self-damage has increased from 0.75x to 1.6x as well, which basically means that shooting it at the floor will actually hurt you quite badly. And then finally, the damage fall-off curve has been updated to drop from 90% at the edge of a 30 centimeter radius down to 0 damage further on from that linearly as well. Obviously, I know it was a pretty big topic about the CL-40. I do feel like it did deserve a nerf, just personally from my own gameplay experiences. However, I do have a bias because I am playing as a light contestant mostly this season because of how the game mode is in ranked matches. But obviously, I could have easily have played through them. I'm not saying that, you know, it had to 100% be nerfed, and the only thing that I felt like needed happening was the self-damage, because at 0.6x self-damage, it was pretty frustrating that they could sort of use it as like a blast wave shield type thing if I was going to close the gap as light. But I think that now this change with the extra ammo is actually a good compromise for the intention that they were asking for, specifically trying to take heavy out of fights. Regardless though, the developers also mentioned in the notes, we felt our buff of the CL-40 in 4.0 was too much and made the weapon very oppressive in certain combos or when stacked. We've now dialed the damage back down to a level closer to what we had before 4.0, whilst retaining the increased size of the max damage inner radius as well. So CL-40 users, it's still usable for you, but unfortunately, it has been nerfed. Next up, the Pike 5.56. Of course, the newest weapon added into Season 4, being a strong option, as we're obviously expecting. They have actually dialed this weapon back down too, but it's only the damage that it dishes out for which has changed instead for this weapon. So it's gone down from 59 damage down to 52, and this is simply because the developers want to move this weapon to a more reasonable place, which is what they state, but it's not fully done yet. They're still going to monitor this weapon for the next couple of weeks just to kind of see where it goes for the future, and we may see an even further adjustment down the line as well. Next up, the VNS has also had some adjustments as well, with a massively decreased fire rate going down from 430 RPM to 360 RPM. Now obviously that might frustrate you, but instead they've increased the damage to the weapon for each shot they take as well. Now the reason for this is because the developers state that these changes have been made to prevent various methods where players could ensure they got the effective maximum fire rate from the weapon through the use of specific binds. I don't know how they did that. Do they have like shoot on scroll wheel or something? Like, that's kind of crazy to me. But regardless, though, they say causing it to be highly effective compared to its intended baseline. The damage increase has been applied to offset some of the effective DPS the weapon lost with the decreased fire rate. So basically, if you are a V9S enjoyer, the effectiveness shouldn't change as much. It's just you're going to have to get used to the adjustment of the different fire rate instead. The devs have also fixed an issue that could sometimes cause players to get that TFGE0000 connection error as well. I know that's a common one that people have been telling me in the Discord, so hopefully that should be better for you guys as well. Also, some changes. The players hit by a stun gun will now see a directional hit arrow as well, showing the direction of the incoming shot that it came from. And a massive change as well if you're a regular viewer of my streams. As you know, we've been trying to yoink that cash out box. There is a bug apparently fixed where liftables would sometimes be immediately dropped after picking them up. Apparently that has been fixed, which is absolutely amazing. I've been losing my mind about that, so now that's in a better spot too. There's also a lot of bug fixes this week as well, so what I've done is left the patch notes in the description for you to read through, but that is pretty much everything in this update covered for you. Let me know in the comments, of course, what your thoughts are on the patch notes this week. Is there something that the devs maybe forgot about that you're still annoyed with, or maybe there's something they actually did well on? Of course, as you guys know, I am always down to discuss in the comment section. As I said, I'm live right now, so if you want to join me on YouTube or Twitch, please come out, and until then, my name's THiiXY, and I'll see you on the podium.